Again, thank you for joining us for the 10th Annual San Juan Islands Agricultural Summit. My name is Brook Brouwer. I know many of you and also new to many of you as well. I'm the director of the WSU Extension Office here in San Juan County. And this will be the 6th Ag Summit that I've helped plan and deliver in partnership with many local organizations, individuals, businesses, community members, many of you who are here today. As some of you know, I grew up on Lopez, and I feel very fortunate to be part of this community and in a role that connects across the islands and across the county as a whole. And this is one of our biggest events of the year, and it's always just an incredible relief to see folks joining and see familiar names and faces and new names and new faces. So thank you so much for being here. Just want to give a little shout out to Liz Scranton for being the first one to join this morning. Liz, it's wonderful to see you. So before I go too much further, just a quick Zoom tips and housekeeping. So first off, if you made it this far, you're doing great. I know it can be a challenge to join the WSU Zoom, so thank you for figuring that out. We got a crew here helping out as best we can to get folks joined, so we'll do that. Please keep yourself muted throughout these meetings. And unless the facilitator and speaker invites questions, please hold on to your questions until the end of the presentation. Some of these events will be a bit more interactive. Others will be more of a presentation style. Feel free to rename yourself, where you're from, island or region or beyond. If you want, we'd love to see your face, so feel free to leave your video on. It's challenging to connect in this space, but we always enjoy seeing folks. So if you want to turn your video on, please feel free to. I think we're up to about 40 plus folks here today so far. Just a reminder, please, the chat is available for everyone to see, and please be respectful in terms of what you post there. As I mentioned, we are recording this session and the others and plan to make them available after the event. Finally, you'll receive an evaluation for the summit. Please do fill that out. Good or bad, your feedback is what makes this possible, our ability to hold this event and our jobs, and we absolutely depend on it. So please keep an eye out for the evaluation and please do fill it out. And then I just invite you all to take a breath and be present with us here today. If you're anything like me, it's probably time to stop checking your email, stop checking your phone, and just enjoy the presentations and connecting with one another. So we recognize and honor all peoples who have ancestral ties to these lands and waters. We recognize and honor our ancestors and all those living who have contributed labor, experience, and knowledge to growing foods and nourishing communities. We recognize not only the land on which we live, but the systemic impacts of land ownership. For example, the establishment of Washington State University as a land-grant institution was founded in part by the profit of sale from indigenous land. In Washington State, the land of 17 tribes covering over 90,000 acres was acquired by the United States. At the time, the US paid $2,699 for this land, which was then used to raise $1.2 million for the university. And this was something that was documented as part of the High Country News investigation and found that nearly 11 million acres of expropriated indigenous land were sold to help pay for the establishment of land-grant universities across the United States. Through the summit, we have an opportunity to continue educating ourselves and our community about the historic and current ties of indigenous communities to the stewardship of the San Juan Islands and beyond. And we're also committed to building connections across cultures, and we'll continue to find ways to facilitate dialogue, bring voices that have been silenced and marginalized and excluded, and share learning opportunities to bring communities together. So for this year of the summit, we have an incredible opportunity to be actually celebrating the 10th anniversary of this event. And if you would like, please go ahead and put in the chat the years of any previous Ag Summits that you have attended. I know many of you have been to many of these events over the years, so if you wanted to share which years you've attended, And just as a reminder, it started in 2013 on San Juan Island and has rotated between San Juan, Orcas, and Lopez every year since, with the exception of last year, which we held as a virtual summit. And getting ready for this, I reached out to Candace Yeagle, Peggy Bill, and Sarah Jones were some of the initial instigators of the summit. And Peggy described this idea of calling it a hoedown, as in farmers put down your hoe and take a moment to gather and celebrate. And Candace remembers just being totally wiped out, not knowing what to expect, and then seeing how the farmers were gathering, loved seeing each other, talking with one another, and how she didn't have time to replenish the coffee or tea table, but then being moved to tears during the showing of the Symphony of Soil, and absolutely electrified by Paul Stamets, who was the first keynote speaker. As my wife Louisa described it, those early summit organizers were unfettered by practical considerations. And I would say that their boldness and vision has been absolutely contagious. Since then, there have been over 160 unique summits, sessions, workshops, panels, and discussions. There have been well over 300 speakers and panelists. They even used the word regeneration in 2016 before it was cool. There have been socials, gatherings, dance, tasting events featuring locally grown food, island chefs, and many of you supplying food to help make that happen. There have been nationally recognized keynote speakers, and then also locals like Valerie Yuckluck, Larry Cochran, M.R. Buffham, and Debbie Arnott, here sharing memories and laughter on Lopez in 2018. We've calculated or estimated that about 600 individuals have participated in the summit since it began. Many of you have participated, presented, planned, and contributed year after year after year. In a given year, we may have participants representing 10 to 20% of agricultural acreage in San Juan County. In 2011, we brought together farmers, producers, and food system advocates to learn and discuss ways to build an equitable future for all those involved in the San Juan County food system and beyond, through discussions of race, food access, labor, and traditional foodways. It was a challenging, inspiring, and thought-provoking, and brought forth many new connections. And now we are here. So here we are 10 years later with the same fundamental vision to inspire, educate, and build camaraderie. And this year, our theme is building infrastructure for change. So in thinking about that, what does that mean? We're in this time of very rapid cultural shift and challenges, facing climate change, emerging war in Europe, systemic racism. And we spent the past 2 years in a pandemic, navigating loss and disconnection and riding waves of hope and disappointment and hope and disappointment. And I might add, riding dysfunctional ferries. And as an agricultural and food community, this stress has been piled upon existing stress of caring for crops and livestock, trying to fix what is broken day after day. And I often wonder, how do we respond? How do we prepare for massive, rapid changes that are nonlinear, changes which set off trophic cascades and bump us out of equilibrium into unknown places? And I don't know. But in my mind, when I think about planning for the unknown, I think about diversity. I studied plant breeding, and one of the takeaways for me was simple, is that there's strength in diversity and resistance to pest and disease and weather. And if we look at ecosystems and community, there's strength and connection. And so my hope is that this year's summit, as we think about building infrastructure, that we will address some of these challenges in small ways, pulling at the corners and thread and helping build in the form of community, new buildings, new skills, and also connections outside of our individual lives, our individual families or farms or enterprises, that we can connect across islands and beyond the San Juan Islands and across cultures. And so just invite you, as you're engaging with the content today and tomorrow, if you're able to, that you take a moment to reflect on connection and look for ways to build new ones. Changing to just kind of more practical nuts and bolts here. Again, if you've made it this far, you're doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is going to be all online. It'll be a series of virtual discussions and presentations. At 9:30, there'll be 2 concurrent virtual morning sessions starting. And you should have received a summit info email for each session that you've signed up for. And there's a unique link in that. There'll be a break, and then there'll be afternoon sessions at 1:30. There'll be a virtual community roundtable at 3:30, and then our keynote address at 5:30. Tomorrow will be in person on Lopez. And again, there'll be concurrent on-farm workshops in the morning, and you should have received specific instructions on directions on how to reach those sites. There'll be lunch at the school for those folks who are registered, and then there'll be afternoon on-farm workshops. There'll be a drop-in kids song and story hour at the school, and then the summit evening social. So again, summit info emails should have been sent out for individual workshops and sessions. If you didn't receive those, please get in touch. Just as a reminder, we required pre-registration, and some of these sessions and programs are at capacity. So please just show up for what you're signed up for. And again, really just take an opportunity to enjoy and connect, and really wonderful to have everyone here. A huge thank you to the steering committee, Sarah Jones, Faith Vanderput, Steph Coffey, Sandy Bishop, Caitlin Black, Matt Clausen, and Bruce Gregory. It's just an absolute dedication from all of these team members to make this happen, and partner organizations. A big shout out to our staff in WSU Extension helping out this year: Kristen Arman, Young Bao, Caitlin Blethen, and Walton Andrews. And a special thanks to Kelsey Green Communications, who's taken the lead on organizing this year. Here she is in 2018, prepping vegetables for a summit on Lopez. Also, thank you to our sponsors: Orcas Food Co-op, Land Bank, Natural Plant Solutions, Stonecrest Farm, Jones Family Farm, Girl Meets Dirt, T&D Farms, Midnight Farms, Watmel Bay Farm, Islanders Insurance, the Shepherd Family, San Juan Makers Guild, San Juan Food Housing Survey, the Lopez Locavores, Lopez Island Brewing, and a special thanks to our anonymous donors as well. All these contributions in kind and monetary help make this event possible, and help keep costs down and upper scholarship. So a huge thank you to those folks. And that, if you have any questions, email is a very, very good way to get in touch with us. Today, you can call our office. That number is 360-370-7661. Tomorrow we'll be on the road, so please email us. You can try calling my cell phone as well if cell service on Lopez holds up. That's 360-525-594. We'll also have a table and staff at the Lopez Island Elementary School. So if you get lost or you need directions or you have a question, those are great ways to get in touch with us. Please also check out our website. There's information there. So with that, it's about 9:15. Your next sessions start at 9:30. Happy to hang out here for a minute. And if you have immediate questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Again, thank you so much for joining us. It's a real honor and pleasure to see everybody.